All right, welcome to PDX Black Roads, a podcast that celebrates the vibrant stories and entrepreneurial journeys for Black and other small business owners in Portland. I'm your host, Andrea Gebreab, Small Business Navigator for the Soul District Business Association. Today we have a special guest joining us. Please give a warm welcome to Andrea Bontemps, the owner and head chef of LeBonTemps Cafe and Catering Business. Andrea's journey is an inspiring one. After running a successful childcare services for over 21 years, she decided to embark on a new adventure in August 2021 by opening her own cafe and catering business. With her background in childcare and a passion for culinary excellence, Andrea brings a unique perspective to the restaurant industry. Today, we're going to delve into Andrea's transition from childcare to the culinary world, her experience as a business owner, and the challenges that she's faced along the way. We'll also discuss the impact of the recent closure at the Nike factory store, which used to be right across the street from her restaurant, and how it has affected her foot traffic. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired as we delve into Andrea's incredible journey and the story behind LeBonTemps Cafe and Catering Business. Welcome, Andrea.
Hello.
All right. So we'll get right into it. I think the fascinating thing about this is, how did you transition from childcare services into the restaurant world?
I have been catering for about 30 years. My mother started me as in high school catering with her, and she did it part-time, and I started catering with a lot of the elderly ladies in the community. And after I finished college, I came back to Portland, and I opened up daycare centers. And after a while, by 2019, I was tired of it. It was a lot going on. The state has its own issues with childcare, and I just became tired of it. So I was sitting home one day. Well, let me back up. In 2010, I went to culinary school.
Okay.
And it was just a hobby. I already knew how to cook, and I already knew how to season. And so I just decided to fine-tune my skills. And I said, possibly one day, I always believe in having something to fall back on. So I said, possibly one day I might open up my own restaurant. And I was just joking one day. And so after I sold my centers, I wasn't going to be a stay-at-home wife. That's not me at all. So I was passing down MLK one day, and I seen this place for rent. So I went in there and met the owner, and he basically gave it to me the same day.
Wow.
And so he goes, well, don't use it just for catering, because I also do kids catering. I provide daycare meals to daycare centers. And he says, well, why don't you open up the front and have it as a cafe or restaurant? And I said, well, I've never done this before. I've never, ever worked in a restaurant ever in my life. Okay. So as always, I just jump in heads first and figure it out along the way.
Now, that location was a breakfast spot before you came in there, I believe, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, because I went in there once or twice to get some breakfast. But I do remember that. And then, John, do you have any questions you want to roll into?
Oh, I didn't even know you had me sitting here at the table. I mean, you just come out of cold. Yeah, hey, I'm John Washington, and I'm the podcast producer of Black Beat. Yeah, this was a real fascinating. I'm glad y'all allowed me to join this conversation, because I think, sister, your food is great. So I wished I was a kid being in your child care. I know we would all ate well for the show. Alex, I think that this is a real fascinating topic. This sister has been putting out some food now for the last couple of years for us, and I tell you, man, we have, we were glad that she opened up her restaurant down on that end of MLK. I mean, it was a bright spot. So, but yeah, this conversation about Nike store closure, I think that was really one that hit us real. Everybody hit us kind of low in the gut,
Tired of high gas prices? Save money on your transportation costs with TriMet's Reduced Fare Transit Card. If you meet income requirements, you can get your first month free while you enjoy unlimited rides on buses and trains anywhere TriMet goes. That's 1 month free, a $28 value when you sign up today for TriMet's Reduced Fare Card. We'll help you travel smarter and make your money go further, no matter what the price is at the pump. Visit TriMet.org/save to learn more and apply today. That's TriMet.org/save. TriMet. How life moves.
Well, we're definitely going to get to that. But what I want to do is make sure we get Andrea an opportunity to talk a little bit more about her business. Number one thing I want to know is, what kind of food do you make?
It's Creole Cajun.
Okay.
And so it's not the typical soul food. Everybody thinks that there's certain foods that I should have, but we have to let people know it's not the typical soul food. It's more Creole Cajun, where we have pastas, we have soups, we have salads, we do have fried chicken, we have alligator. So we have food that not every soul food place carries. But then we have food that doesn't have soul food. You know what I mean? So it's a bunch of different infusions, and then if people have to know the history between the French, the Spaniards, and the Africans that made Creole food.
Okay.
And so a lot of people don't understand the history, and so that's what makes Creole Cajun food, is the history of it.
Yeah, and the thing is, in Portland, we don't have many options for that type of food out here.
No.
And we're known for being a hot spot for food. We're known for our food carts and stuff like that. And we've got the usual like the gyro spots, and here's pizza and all that stuff. But when it comes to like soul food or what's considered black food, Creole, like down south food, we don't have too many options for that.
No, we don't. And I think when I look at the history of the boulevard, man, coming up that street like every day for the last 20 years, almost, and recognizing what's on that in the morning, you coming into the office and you hungry and you go, well, what's out here to eat? Well, for years there used to be some diversity in the food choices that we had coming up the quarter, but lately it wasn't nothing but chicken. And I got so tired of chicken. Everywhere you turned, there was a chicken, this Popeye, that. Everybody was selling damn chicken. I got tired of eating pullet. Yeah. But, and I was hoping that something different would open up. I mean, on the street, and I mean, every once in a while. And I mean, thinking about a breakfast place, I mean, let's forget about it. But when the restaurant opened up across from Nike, I said, boy, look here, we finally got someplace we can go and we can eat some food that is familiar to us. Because I'm a Southerner myself, man, and I ain't all about all that other stuff. I mean, you can eat chicken one day a week, but damn, chicken every day of the week and for breakfast too? No, it wasn't happening.
Yeah, no, I like seasoning and spice in my food, so I definitely love your food. What is it that inspired you to do this type of food?
Because it was different, and a lot of people weren't familiar. There's a lot of places that claim to be soul food. There's a lot of places that are ran by Black people now, and that really inspired me. But a lot of people don't understand what it takes to keep a restaurant going, and the overhead. And so, as many of us as I see as coming up with restaurants, just as many of us are closing now because we didn't put any thought or effort into it. So people aren't looking at the bigger picture, the cost. How are you going to make it? Do you have enough to make it for the next month? The easiest money, well, it wasn't easy money, but the most money I made was doing childcare. Okay. And like I was just telling one of my employees, this is the least amount of money I've made in my life, having a restaurant, because the food costs are so high.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have to pass it on to the customer. And people don't understand, about pricing. Like one lady says, well, why is your price high? And my cashier explains, she says, well, isn't your groceries go up higher? And she goes, well, yeah. She goes, well, it goes up for everybody, So people don't understand what it takes to make anything happen in a restaurant, to provide them a decent amount of food, quality food, and good food all at the same time.
Yeah, and especially dealing with the demographics you got to deal with, too. For some odd reason, it's always this assumption that because a black business is in business, that somewhere along the line you can come in and barter and talk about what their prices is.
Yes.
It's kind of like only with us. Well, surely this don't cost that much. You trying to get over on us. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody want to hear that. It is expensive out there. Supply chains, all that stuff. I mean, ever since that food took office, everything has been topsy-turvy. And since COVID, I mean, sister, I'm surprised. Like I said, the prices just went through the roof after that. But, the fact that we can hold on and survive, and get through some of these difficult times, I think that's really what's important.
Well, I mean, to me, I think it speaks for your passion and the quality of food that you have, because getting into that business in 2021, coming off of COVID, that was a scary time for restaurants. right?
Yeah.
And then now you're transitioning to this inflation piece of it, where the cost of everything is skyrocketing, but you're still continuing to maintain. You know, so I think it speaks a lot of volume for that. As far as the passion that you have for the work that you do. I mean, what are some other challenges that you've dealt with going into this business?
Well, one, the building that I'm in is very old.
Okay.
But we have a new owner who seems to be pretty good. He's on top of it. But the building's old, so the appliances that you put in there, the new appliances, really is not compatible with the old building.
Okay.
Okay, so the electrical work, you know, I have to, we have to flip fuses every day. Okay. And so one thing that I'm looking at is, do I want to upgrade this fuse box? Is it beneficial to me? Because number one, I don't own the building. You know what I mean? So when you come into somebody else's building, and with any business, especially restaurant, you have a triple net lease. Yep. Okay, so that means you're responsible for everything. And so that's one thing that I'm looking at. Another obstacle, challenges, is getting people in the restaurant.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not open every day. And the reason why is I can't find any help. I can't find any good help. And
God, that's such a common theme in the restaurant world.
And I hire brothers that are chefs, and the main problem they have is they just don't want to listen to a woman who's a chef and who owns their own business. So I have people walk out on me because they won't do it my way, or they're not willing to do it my way. And I'm like, well, they chefed at other places, but they were fine because the executive chef was white. And so I find that disheartening for me, because I always try to give back to my people that we can't get along. We can't be cohesive. And, you know, like I told this one guy one day, I said, you know, one thing that they did to us in slavery, they disenfranchised us. They made sure we don't trust each other at all. And they have did it 9.0, especially in Portland. We can't get along, or if we know somebody who doesn't like you, we're not going to patronize you. We don't even know you, but we think you're doing better than us, so we're not going to patronize you. We think you talked about us, or you dated our boyfriend back in high school, so we're not going to deal with you. Okay, I'm over 30 years out of high school. I don't even know what they're talking about. Okay?
And you're originally from Portland, right?
I'm from Portland, but I was bused out to Lake Oswego. I went to all private school after that. So I really don't know. I know of people in the community, but I really don't know a lot of people, of my peers. Okay. I know of them, and only relationship we might have is on Facebook. Okay. You see what I mean? So that's not a friend. That's not even an acquaintance, because you really don't know them. And
they call frenemies.
Yeah. You know, it's just
they
like,
gonna act like they love you, but then at the same time, when push comes to shove, you get something more than them. They want to hold you down like crabs in a bucket. But you know, this conversation tends to flow through all of the fabric that deals with the black community in Oregon, or in Portland, primarily Multnomah County, is that this conversation of lack of cohesion, the desire, and you know, and it's such a weird deal that it always appears that somehow or another, when money or something gets on the table, or progress or success, there's always this crab in the bucket mentality. You know, and then they'll say some stuff like, oh, yeah, but if you say anything about it in the room when we're trying to, you know, somehow dissect the money or whatever, or you being uncooperative, or if you don't have this we all getting along kind of attitude, even though somebody getting more than you and all that kind of stuff, if you just go along with it, it's okay. Okay, but the minute you got something to say about it, oh, you just don't, you don't want that. Oh, we ain't going to be able to get masses money or masses situation if we disruptive with one another, if we don't have the appearance of getting along with one another, but yet at the background and the backdrop we ain't getting along with one another, and there's all this other kind of stuff. So I don't know if I'm really willing to continue to be hostage to that kind of dynamic anymore. I mean, I think we just need to do what we do and somehow or another try to figure out, but I think it's important that we address that point about how do we cooperate and support one another when there's two worlds? I mean, we can only serve one master. I mean, you know, if the formula or the agenda for us to be successful, all boats rise, that means that we are to be conscientious and cooperate with one another to address our issues, to be able to get along. It ain't about trading one overseer for another. So that's just how I see that sometimes. So, sister, I agree with you. I know you got this. This thing is when people start seeing us when we successful or we start moving in a healthy direction or right direction, we always got them backbiters coming right behind us talking about massa say pull you down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to kind of continue on that, Andrea, is like Portland, one of the biggest industries is the food and service industry. And there's always this notion that there is hopping around, like, oh, if it doesn't work out for me at this restaurant, at this bar, this is such a big industry that I can go somewhere else, right? And a lot of them do face the challenges. And I remember growing up in Portland. I grew up in Northeast Portland, and if you wanted to go to any black business, you always came to MLK. I used to ride my bike up and down MLK, barbershops, all type of stuff. You would just go hang out on MLK up and down and stuff like that. So now that we have this like resurgence or this push to try to bring black back to MLK, the MLK corridor, you are a part of that story. You're part of that push of trying to bring all that back. And those challenges you're dealing with, a lot of other restaurants are dealing with them. So I've definitely heard that.
But Andrea was smart to place a restaurant where she did. And I think that she took her time to select a location that would somehow or another assure her a reasonable amount of success. And I was impressed the fact, and of course Nike, who had a history with the community, there for 30-something years, definitely a bona fide economic driver for the district. Okay, yes. I think Andrea, she did a really good job picking where potentially she could put a located restaurant and have some measurable success. So you could imagine how many people came since Nike, when Nike's store was there on a reasonable amount of time. My understanding, per year there was over 6 million people that visited the lower end of MLK with Nike's tenure there over the last 30 years. And so there had to be some kind of reality or consciousness that Nike had, that when they decided to move out, that they were going to somehow affect a number of small businesses in that area in an adverse way. So I was really sad by the decision that they made. But, and even recognizing Phil Knight and some of those thoughts about what he might have been having at that time, that the people who sat down on the table and gave him an option or an exit strategy out of the situation did not adequately represent the clientele or the businesses that's down around that store, 4 blocks either way, right? And to somehow or another discuss with Phil the impact that his store closure would have on these small businesses like Andrea have. And it's just unfair for them to invest their life savings, their life opportunities into these situations, and to not be somehow or another acknowledged as, just not there to just be thrown away. Nike had a commitment there. The community supported that store for over 30 years. Somewhere along the line, small businesses like Andrea should have been somehow or another acknowledged and compensated for that decision. And I'm still of the notion to believe that the people sitting at the table that was representing our community at the time with Phil did not adequately represent the small businesses down on that end.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And, Andrea, so in addition to situations like the Nike store closure and then with you having issue with staffing and all that stuff, how have you made up for not having the store open? Like how do you keep the business going? Like, I know you do catering and all that stuff, but how do you pivot?
I keep the restaurant doors open Thursday through Sunday. The rest of the days I cater. Okay. So I have a chef that's there on the weekends at work, so it takes some of the pressure off of me. But 90% of the work I do by myself.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a big lift, Andrea.
So Monday I had 7 catering events. No, Tuesday I had 7 catering events, and plus I had Fat Tuesday. Okay. And so thankfully I had one staff member that came in and that could help. And one of my daughters came in and started driving the food and dropping it off for me because it was back to back. Because one thing that is in Portland or Oregon, period, is during Black History Month, you get a bunch of people ordering food for their business offices and different stuff. So I think they feel that they should support us at least once a year. Okay, a small Black business.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of the Black businesses are probably seeing quite a bit of people come through their restaurant for the month of February that are non-Black. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, so you would say catering is the biggest portion of your business? Is
That's 50%. Oh,
really?
Yeah, 50 to 60. Yes.
And are you do like DoorDash and all that stuff as well?
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from that because they take a third.
Wow.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of those businesses that I've talked to in that area, especially on the restaurant side, they depend heavily on those type of services because they're not getting the foot traffic in there.
Right.
You know, so.
But that's the trend, man, and I'm not so sure we should support the trend. I mean, yeah, COVID came in, and it made people a little bit ambiguous about that human interaction kind of stuff on the social level. But to me, DoorDash, all of that is a business, and they are doing what every other major business is trying to do, trying to get a market niche, trying to somehow or another undermine one aspect of business to be able to compensate on it from some other aspect of business. So no one said we had to support that kind of agenda. You know, no one said that you can't socially. I mean, you can't right now go into restaurants or go into businesses on the walk. That's a convenience, but to me, it's being sold to the people as an option. Okay, but don't mean that people got to exercise that option. For me, I like to make sure, even when I'm paying my bills, everybody look at me, they laugh, they say, "Well, why don't you go online and pay your bills?" I walk into the water company, I walk into PG&E and hand them my money. I like to look into the face of people I'm giving my money to. But anyway, I'm just not a big supporter of that DoorDash thing. I think it's a convenience, but I'm not so sure if it's not undermining, just like Amazon and all these other large organizations. I think they're altering the fabric of how we do business, and they're not taking into consideration how they're affecting these traditional businesses who are in storefront, who depend upon the flow of people going and coming. And no one is really pointing that fact out, is that companies like DoorDash and the driver deliverables and all this kind of stuff is just changing the way people are doing things. And I'm not necessarily so sure if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, like with your type of food, with it being a unique type of food, on the catering side, is it more like repeat clients? Is it referral based? Are you actively doing outreach doing sales or?
I put my daughters on that. They Instagram me all the time.
Okay.
YouTube me. They put me on Facebook. So they're the ones who's keeping up with this new trend. Yep. Reason why, let me back up to DoorDash and all them. I don't care for them because, first of all, they're rude when they come into the restaurant. And my food is made from scratch. Okay, so not everything, this is not a fast food restaurant, like I tell everybody. So DoorDash is on me because they said you'll get more people if you have their food ready in 10 minutes. Well, that's not possible for me.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And second of all, sometimes they'll come in and the DoorDash or Uber Eats or whoever will have 8 other orders in their car. And so it just depends what number I am. And people will actually call me up or write a bad review under DoorDash or whatever because their food was cold.
Yeah.
And like I told them, you used a third party, okay, to get your food. If you come in, your food is hot.
Yep.
I promise you, it left here hot.
Yeah.
But you didn't get your food for an hour and a half. So I have nothing to do with that.
And you lose control of your product as soon as they pick it up. You don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And one problem we were having, because people can get liquor to go. And so it was
Really?
Oh yeah, you can get liquor to go still.
That's legal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have margarita machines in my restaurant, and the frozen margarita machines, and I have 6 of them. And this one driver would come in, and the people would always order, and they're supposed to ask for their ID.
Okay.
Because I can't ask for that, but Uber has to ask for it. But every time this one driver, the people will call back, and they never got their drink.
Wow.
Okay, so that's a driver issue.
Yeah.
You know, and so my thing is, us as small black businesses, we should be able, if we could get along and talk to each other and not thinking we're trying to steal each other, get together and form our own drivers, pay for the insurance, and pay them like $10 every time they come into our store to pick it up, and pay for their insurance, you know. And even if we had our own cars, because we all have vans, have our own vans and let them drive our vans, and they make $10 to $15 a hit. Well, if we're doing off of Uber Eats a minimum of 15 orders an hour. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So think how much that driver would make.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be losing so much money.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Andrea. I mean, I was just thinking about this. With this scenario, as we talked about DoorDash and these delivery types of structures, does it require a restaurant? Is it traditionally the structure of the restaurant and how you function in the restaurant? Is it different from when you have the clients coming in, sitting down at the table, doing your thing? And say if a stronger amount of your sales was in DoorDash, does it require you a different kind of tooling, a different kind of functionality in the restaurant to be able to serve those kinds of customers versus serving the customers inside the restaurant?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that's like. What happens? What do you have to change up a little bit differently to be able to meet? Like, do you have to have a different kind of a cook? Do you have to cook a whole lot more? Keep food on the burner moving forward? Do you make how does all that work? I mean, compared to a person just walking in the restaurant.
Well, for me, I have a line. And so on the line, that's the stuff that I make that Thursday. So we always have macaroni and cheese on the line, gumbo, crawfish etouffee, greens, the basic things we have on the line. But when it comes to like jambalaya and stuff, we make that fresh, okay? So we have to make the catfish, the fried chicken, the oysters, and all that fresh, because if you hot hold it, it turns to mush. And for me, everything has to be appealing to the eye as well as appealing to the taste, okay? That's how you sell people, because everybody nowadays is visual, okay? So for me, when, like the other day, Dee Dee and I got slammed. I had 25 people in the restaurant. It's just me back there cooking.
Wow.
And I had 18 tickets from Uber Eats. And so the first thing that I do is I service my customers that are in front of me.
Yep.
Okay. We give them preferential treatment. We give them all the love, all the hospitality of like they're in the Southern restaurant.
Yep.
Okay. Uber Eats, I pushed them to the back burner. I told her, I said, turn them tablets off. I got to get caught up. Okay. And so for me, it's juggling, trying to figure out what the people, like with Uber Eats, you know, that's a lot of room you're taking up. You got to repackage everything, put it to go, put a sticker on it, make sure everything's closed up tight, put it under a heat lamp. Hopefully they'll come and get it when you tell them it's done. A lot of times lately, because we've been moving, it's been taking us so long because we have so much foot traffic inside that they've been taking an hour and a half to get to us after we even tell them it's ready to go. So then people's food is cold, or the chicken is, or the catfish isn't hot and is soft, and people are complaining about that.
Yeah.
And so there's no common medium, okay? And like I tell people, if you come into the store, like I'll get people will call me up, this, and this. It's nothing for me to go on Uber Eats and send them a $15 coupon, a $15 gift card or a $20 gift card. Because one thing I want people to know, if there's any damages or people felt that I messed up on something, by all means, I'll replace it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have even gotten in my car and driven it to them myself. Okay. But it's still time consuming. It's a lot of work. And at the end of the day, it burns you out. It burns you out. Wow. I try to respond to everybody's reviews, everybody's comment. That's like a 24-hour job. And then you have people that just doesn't have nothing else to do but write reviews for no reason at all and have nothing to say.
Yeah.
See, John, this type of business, this is the part where it kind of it hurts, because we have somebody here who's really fighting to keep their business afloat. What she's really saying here is she needs help. Yeah. And the biggest form of help that she needs is come get a job. If you're looking for work, I mean, you're talking about operations, responding to people, cooking, and all this other stuff. You're doing 20 tickets plus another 18 with Uber. I mean, I'm thinking that's like 3 or 4 more jobs, right?
Well, you know, you could have considered it. Well, damn, just imagine if Nike was still there. I mean, things are starting to pick up a little bit for, you know, down on that end. You know, what I'm hearing her say is you have to almost like be running 3 businesses inside of one. You know, you need just a line cook or somebody who can just handle these outgoing orders, you know, and then you need a chef and all of that that's handling the in-house orders. And then you need somebody that's the computer technology and savvy to be able to stay on top. So it's like almost, you know, it sounds big, man. And things are not really shifting slowly. I mean, with the advent of AI and all that kind of stuff, the question would be, I would think about figuring out how to utilize that stuff in reference to somehow or another having some of the supportive cast that she would probably need. But so how has things been since the store have closed? Since Nike's store has closed down there, sis. Anyway, I mean, it sounds like
It's been slow.
It's been slow.
And see, that's the issue with hiring people, because some days you might only have 8 people come in the door, and you can't count on it. You know what I mean? And so since Nike's been closed, one thing there has been, the people who own that building is what, Alameda LLC Holdings or something. They don't keep it up. They have trash cans everywhere. They end up in my yard. I'm picking up garbage every morning. The business has, since Nike's gone, I've lost 70% of the clientele.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, because I know the demographic population visit is definitely almost cut in half at this point. So you went from 6 million a year down to almost less than 3 million people coming through the district. I mean, coming on that lower end. And I still don't know what's driving them to come in there, except for a couple good restaurants like yourself, Andrea, and a few other things to get people to drive them to come up the MLK corridor off the Broadway through a ferry down in there. So, wow.
And the homeless keeps people away too.
Yeah. When you have foot traffic like that, it does keep the taggers away, the homeless people, and it's tough because with the loss of places like Lloyd Center, the Nike store, which were big economic drivers, people visit the Lloyd Center, all that, Nike store, then they would hit up the mom and pops. Portland is big on like having homegrown businesses. They're not going to put like a McDonald's in the middle of a neighborhood. We're always going to have like a homegrown restaurant, food truck, and all this other stuff. But if we're going to want that to survive, there's also has to be an element of the big retailers, the big malls, the Nikes and stuff like that. And I think sometimes they don't realize how much of an impact it has on the homegrown businesses, And I mean, the pushback that we get a lot of times when we push on this, John, he really presses on this, kind of trying to figure out why they don't feel like they have a responsibility for that. Their usual answer is that the city doesn't support us, right? There's a lot of issues in Portland. It's blatantly obvious when you're driving around with crime, theft, break-ins, and things like that. So I think there has to be some kind of relationship with a lot of these bigger companies, retail stores, and within the city. So,
Andrea, how would you have liked to seen? Would you have liked to seen this happen differently for you, other than Nike just pull out and after a year later say they ain't coming back or whatever? How would you have liked to seen this process, or could this process have been done differently for you?
I think it could have been with Nike. I'm the outside looking in, but I think that the city of Portland mayor played a big part. I also believe the police played a big part. And with the theft that's going on in Portland, that's the reason why Walmart's pulled out and Target just about pulled out. Portland is not, so if they're not sustaining their major corporations, then they don't care about the little people, small business, okay? And my feeling is one way, like we just got taxed again on water, okay, through the environmental health.
Okay.
So everybody's water in Portland went up 15%. Yeah. Okay. If you own a restaurant and you have to have a grease trap, mind you, before I got to my restaurant, there was no grease trap. So they were able to operate all those years without a grease trap. Okay. You had to have a grease trap. Okay. Now, and I have to have it cleaned out every month, and it's cost $165. Yeah. So the environmental health has just came in, but I just met with them last week. I'm going to get, now my water's going up 45% on top of that. Yeah. Because they're saying that they're not diluting our grease good enough to flow into the Willamette River. Wow. So my attitude is, how is that my problem when I'm paying for a service? Yep. Okay? So one thing that I think that City of Portland wants, and this is my own opinion, is how you keep people down and keep them poor is you give
dependency money.
Yeah, you give them a little bit more money. You try to give them, and there's hardly any grants out there. You try to give them a little grants, but then you elevate the cost of everything. So we're still paying more taxes. We're still paying more out. and you're taxing us on everything, so the city of Portland can get rich. That's how you capitalize off of the poor man.
Yep.
Okay, so people say, well, we're trying to get generational wealth. You can't get it with the government that we are having right now in Portland.
Yeah. Right.
There's no generational wealth that you can pass on to your children having a restaurant or any small business in Portland because of their city of Portland's capitalizing off of the small business, and that's what keeps the United States government running.
But in Portland, state of Oregon in general, we get killed on taxes. I know everybody likes to brag and say we don't have the sales tax, but they make that back on the
We
the
might as
other
well
end.
have it.
We get killed, you know, state taxes, and then if you're in business, the payroll tax. I mean, and then it just goes on. There's a tax for everything, you know. And a lot of small businesses are suffering. So even like with stores like Nike, they opened up a new store. I think it's like Tualatin or something like that.
It's Bridgeport, and I've been in there.
Bridgeport.
And I've been in there.
Yeah. So see, they're leaving. The inner city and opening up businesses somewhere else. You know, so there is still a viability for it. I mean, it's still the same government, but they're putting us in a precarious situation.
I mean, you're definitely opening up some cans of worms here, y'all. I got to tell you. I mean, I've sat here and I listened to a couple things. I listened to this thing about taxes, but most importantly, I listened to this issue about police, the issue about police reform. And listen, we ain't none of us around here 16 years old. We've been around here a little bit. We've been watching a whole lot of this stuff. And so when you talk about theft, for example, right, and this whole issue about loss, and then the issue about the city coming back to Nike after Nike said, listen, we be willing to stay, okay, as long as y'all provide some security for my employees. And, you know, the fact is that this whole notion about all the hoods now, they're unsafe. You know, there's always this issue and conversation about public safety. But if y'all look at the phenomenon, you look back at the time Black Lives Matter, defund the police, all of these things are now on the tail, on the whip, right, as a response to that. Right? So now big corporations are saying, well, since Black Lives Matter and they pressing us to do this, well, let's take the conveniences we've given them out of their communities and say, well, when you take care of theft and when you take care of public safety and these things will come back. Okay? But this has been the cities and communities and urban places been like this for the last 50 years. Okay, and every time a new regime comes in, every time a new conversation starts, the conversation for politicians is about public safety. Okay, this whole notion between the city and Nike could have simply been resolved, but the city says that they didn't have enough off-duty police that they could have necessarily afforded to put over there. And then the city was saying back to Phil, you got more money than we got. How about you hiring your own security? But they did hire their own security people, okay? And then the other part was nobody talked about the theft that was in-house. Everybody's talking about the damages that were out-house, you know? But in the end, we all got caught up in the politics because Nike's flagship outlet store has been on MLK for over 30-something years. And you can't tell me that the MLK corridor hadn't gone through a lot of stuff since in the last 30 years, including the issue around public safety. Okay? So whatever this banter between them both was, and then you turn around, all of a sudden they stalling for a year to be able to not tell anybody about what's going on. And then all of a sudden they drop $400 million in here and say, okay, y'all do whatever y'all want to do, but don't take into consideration none of the damages that are occurring to the other small businesses. When you take on the position that Nike took on, they made billions of dollars from that store over the last 30 years. People in our community became dependent upon them in some way, shape, or form. And there's a responsibility we have to the community that pays us, okay? We have a responsibility to that community, okay? And so it ain't just like you can just, and so does the city. I'm not putting all this on Phil and them. I'm saying the city had just as much responsibility to recognize the impact of their decisions we're going to have on the small businesses in that district. So it really does get my Irish up inside of me in a lot of ways when to recognize how Nike and the city treated our small businesses in the district in relationship to this economic driver.
Absolutely. And I mean, so part of the work that we do here at the Seoul District Business Association, in addition to supporting our businesses wherever they need, is the advocacy work and bringing to light some of the issues that our businesses are having and what they're struggling with. You've got a phenomenal product. I've had your food quite a few times,
Thank
through
you.
catering services and stuff like that, and that's my type of food.
Well, catering or the food?
The food. No, not catered food. You can cater food here all the time. We might have to do like a reality show or something and follow you around in there, because I'm a really big fan of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and one thing is, I want to make sure, in light of the foot traffic slowing down, I want to continue that we keep you motivated to stay there, and that you don't become demoralized to not want to be there, because we need you. We need people like you to stay in the district and continue to be a flagship to bring other people here. So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of just tell people again where you're at. If you have an Instagram page, a website, if they need catering services from you, how they can reach out to you, and what are all the ways they can get access to you.
Okay. Well, on the corner of MLK and Knott. I remember it when it was Union Avenue, so now I'm dating myself. 2716. We do catering. We have. I also have a kids catering, which I cater to daycare centers.
Okay.
I cater organic food, vegan, gluten-free, and vegetarian. My website is LeBonTemps, LeBonTemps Cafe PDX. You can also call us at the restaurant 503-327-8162. And if we don't answer, leave us a message. I check the messages every day. I do have a business cell phone, which is 503-753-6731. Again, people need to leave me a message so I can get back with them, because we try to give everybody the attention they need. And we do a lot of catering. We come to you. You can come to us. Just let us know.
Okay.
And just because it's not on the menu does not mean I don't know how to make it.
Yeah.
You know how to burn, Andrew. Hey, look, if you got this last opportunity, I mean, as we end the show, to say to our listeners, is there anything special you want to say to them that we might have missed in the questions that we might have asked you while you're here? Is there any special thing on your mind that you would like to share with our listeners and your constituents in the district? What is it would you like to say to them now that you got their ear?
Everybody, please get out and vote. Nothing can change if we don't vote and put the right people in, okay? It's your taxes too going up. And then support your black businesses. Support us small businesses. We need help to stay afloat. I know everybody think everybody's big balling and everything. That is not true. Just because we carry ourselves in one way, you don't know what the fight we're going through. You don't know how many secondary jobs we are working to sustain a lifestyle of just living. Cost is going up for everybody. So please encourage each other. Let's try to stick together, my people, and try to get along with each other.
Yep.
Life is too short. Our time is short.
Yeah, I agree. And I know before we wrap it up, there's 500 small black-owned businesses in the state of Oregon. 38% of those black-owned businesses are within 3 miles of the MLK corridor. We all talk about supporting one another, or sometimes we complain that there's no longer a black community or a black hub or center, and we have somebody like Andrea who is trying to contribute and bring that back in a positive way. Go support her. That's the first step to doing that. So,
and the sister can cook too. So y'all, I ain't
absolutely.
trying to eat, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I ate her food. I'm still eating it. So whatever that's all about for y'all. And I do appreciate, this conversation that we've been having. It's a tough one. It's a hard conversation to have. I think that when we look at the whole issues around theft and the issues around this discontent between us all and this crab in a bucket mentality, all of these things are nuances and idiosyncrasies that are driven by people for a reason and a purpose, and that is to keep certain ones of us at a disadvantage while other ones gain. And I do believe that there's a synergy or an ability for us to come together to create a utopia that, would serve us all. But I think it's going to require a lot of us to sort of surrender some of the bullshit attitudes that we got going on, and sort of get into the truth about our condition. Theft is a part of us. Tagging is a part of us. Dishonesty, lack of integrity, all those types of things. It's a part of us, but it's up to us to weed all that stuff out of our community, out of the people who constantly keep coming up. And I'm going to tell you, you thieves out there, y'all keep getting away with it for right now, but boy, oh boy, you're paying a price. You're going to pay a price in the long run. So let's support our businesses out there. Let's do the things, and let's do the right things. I ain't trying to do all that other stuff, but let's get out there and do the things that we're supposed to do.
Amen. LeBonTemps Cafe, MLK, and not.
Hey.
Go support Andrea.
Y'all better ask somebody.